Sitting at my desk, I found myself drifting back through the 30 years since Ella and I tied the knot. I started reminiscing about our honeymoon and those remarkable moments that still light up my life. Thinking about that time in Hawaii with Ella fills me with a mix of nostalgia and gratitude. It was an enchanting chapter I'll always treasure. From the moment we arrived, it felt like we'd stepped into a dream world, escaping the daily grind and discovering a serene peace that's hard to put into words. Strolling along Waikiki Beach, with the sand between our toes and the waves whispering their secrets, we were enveloped in beauty. The air was heavy with the sweet scent of plumeria, a constant reminder of the love and tranquility that surrounded us. But it wasn't just the breathtaking scenery that made our honeymoon unforgettable. It was the experiences we shared. Trekking through lush jungles and uncovering hidden waterfalls felt like unearthing Mother Nature's treasures. Together, we marveled at the sheer beauty and power of our surroundings. Our cliffside retreat in Maui offered views that seemed to stretch on forever. Each sunset splashed the sky with vibrant hues, and as we held each other close, we were overcome with love and devotion. Evenings felt like a romantic symphony, with candlelit dinners on the beach under a star-studded sky, savoring fresh seafood and local delicacies. What truly made it magical was the love that sparkled in Ella's eyes. Hawaii wasn't just a destination, it became the heart of our love story, filled with moments and dreams we shared. Reflecting on our honeymoon reminds me of the profound beauty and depth of our relationship. It rekindled our love and strengthened our bond, providing us with moments of pure joy and serenity. I hold these memories dear, feeling immense gratitude as I look back on that lover's paradise. 30 years later, lost in thought, my secretary walked in and found me gazing out the window. "Liam, what's got you so happy lately? Did you win the lottery?" she teased. It dawned on me that I'd been grinning and feeling content for 2 weeks straight. I mentioned that my wife had been particularly loving and attentive, making me feel appreciated and cherished again. After so many years, it felt like a second honeymoon, and I was eager to spend more time with her, acting like a smitten teenager. I didn't want this newfound happiness to end. While Ella and I have a solid marriage, 30 years can turn excitement into routine. Yet Ella had been unusually affectionate, seeking intimacy almost every night, and reviving parts of our relationship we hadn't explored in years. I never suspected her affections had any motive beyond rekindling our marriage. I decided to surprise her with a romantic evening, leaving work early with a smile. I picked up 24 roses, her favorite wine, and chocolate-covered cherries. Tonight I plan to show my love and surprise her with a 7-night cruise to celebrate our enduring love. Entering the house through the garage, I went up the kitchen steps. Instead of Ella, I found our 29-year-old daughter Chloe sitting at the table. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and asked, "Hey baby, where's your mom?" 2 weeks earlier, Chloe had a heart-to-heart with her mother. "I love your dad so much, and I'm terrified that if I go through with this, I'll hurt him. Mom, Dad loves you, and he'll understand. You said yourself you need something more than what you've had before, and Dad isn't getting any younger. He'll understand your needs and let you have this one-time pleasure. I can't face with your dad and tell him I'm going on a date with another man. It's impossible. Then let me handle it. Ethan will be waiting for you at the restaurant at 7 p.m., and you'll be ready to leave by 6. When Dad gets home, I'll explain everything to him, and you'll get the experience you crave." Honey, I agreed to this date, but I have serious doubts. This feels so wrong. How can I look your father in the eye for the next 2 weeks, knowing I've agreed to go out with another man? Don't tell him anything. Show him how much you love him during these 2 weeks. Let him know he has nothing to worry about. When I explain everything, he'll understand. It's not about love, just new friendships and a bit of fun. Reach out to him, rock his world, and when I explain it that evening, he'll welcome you back with open arms. Dad loves you and is willing to do anything for you. He's always given you what you wanted, showing his love. Maybe you're right. It's just one date, and it doesn't mean I'm leaving Dad for another man. Having a fun night out 30 years later shouldn't be a problem. I'll show Dad how wonderful he is and how much I love him every night until date night. Then when I get back, I'll try to make him the happiest man in the world. Mom, just make him feel loved and appreciated. He's a great guy, and we'll give you this one-of-a-kind experience. Now I have to get home and cook dinner for Jake. Thanks, baby. Say hi to Jake. When will you two give us grandchildren? Soon. We've already talked about it and plan to start working on it in a few months, Chloe said before heading home. Ella found herself alone in the art studio I had built for her behind their house, facing his latest project. Lately, she struggled with creativity, burdened by thoughts of being with another man. However, Chloe's advice echoed in her mind, and suddenly her brushes danced on the canvas, bringing vibrant colors and emotive landscapes to life. Confident she was doing right by herself, Ella sat in solitude, feeling a wave of peace wash over her guilt. Liam might be upset initially, but I believe I can make him see I truly adore him, and he's been an exceptional husband and father. I'll be the best wife and show him my love, she thought. That evening, as part of her plan to shower him with affection, Ella put on his favorite baby doll nightgown after her shower, styled her hair, and applied makeup. Greetings, Liam, as he returned home. Ella, dressed in the nightgown and heels, led him to the bedroom where she undressed him and surprised him with a long, neglected act of passion. She pleased him in ways he hadn't experienced in years. Liam's smile filled Ella with warmth and happiness, making her wonder why she hadn't done this sooner. This is the best welcome home I've had in ages. What's the occasion? Honey, I just wanted to remind you how special you are and how much I love you. Did you enjoy it? She asked. I did. It's been so long that I forgot how much I missed it, he replied, feeling pleased. She pulled him onto the bed, and they shared passionate kisses for several minutes. It was the most fulfilling intimacy they had experienced in years, causing Ella to rethink her plans with Ethan. Over the next few weeks, their connection deepened. Liam became a happier man, constantly smiling, laughing, and showing affection. Ella found herself in a better place than she had been in a long time and began to reconsider her planned date night. She even discussed the positive changes with Chloe, questioning if she still needed to go through with her original plans. Mom, this is wonderful, but don't cancel just yet. Let's see how the next 2 weeks go. Enjoy each other and see where it leads. You don't need to cancel now. We can reassess in 2 weeks. You can always cancel last minute if needed, but remember, this chance might not come again. All right, maybe you're right. Remind me about Ethan's situation. I know he's your friend's father, but I need more details. Sure, Mom. When his wife Anna was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, he took time off work to care for her until she passed. She was the love of his life, and after her death, he was devastated. He became withdrawn and focused only on work. When Anna and I suggested he start dating, he admitted he didn't know how to be with anyone else. Hearing his story made me realize I might have a solution for both of you. Chloe went on to explain Ethan's deep admiration for her mother and his desire for companionship. She described their conversation and Ethan's eagerness to meet Ella. Mom, he thinks you're wonderful and would love to spend time with you. I'll give him your number and you two can arrange to meet. He's about 10 years younger than you, and I know you'll get along well. He just needs someone to talk to and befriend, and I believe you can help each other. The next day, Ethan called Ella, and after a delightful conversation, he invited her to spend time with him. When he complimented her photo and expressed how much he looked forward to their meeting, she felt a surge of excitement. The thrill of doing something new and his flattering words gave her butterflies. She agreed to meet him and said she was looking forward to it. He offered to pick her up, but she preferred to meet him at the restaurant. They texted each other daily, their exchanges becoming more playful as the meeting approached. By the time the day arrived, Ella's text messages would not have passed the simplest test of loyalty. She was constantly excited, imagining what lay ahead. Despite this, she tried not to neglect Liam and put more effort into their intimate moments every evening. Now, Liam walked around with a grin on his face, and Ella walked around with a newfound desire. This new level of connection exceeded her wildest dreams. I adored my daughter and thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. I was so proud of the woman she had become. I wished I had spent more time with her as she grew up, but I worked hard to provide a good life and tried to be there for her as much as possible. I smiled when I saw her, but felt a bit surprised. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? And where's your mom? I asked, as I sat down the 24 roses, a bottle of wine, and a box of chocolates. I've got a special surprise for your mom tonight and can't wait to see her, I said, reaching into my jacket pocket to pull out travel plans and tickets for a 7-day cruise. I'm taking your mom away on a 7-day cruise, and I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out. Don't say anything when she gets home. I want to surprise her. Hearing her call me Daddy always made me smile, reminding me of when she was a little girl sitting on my lap. But something seemed off. Tears welled in her eyes and she was out of breath, clearly worried about what she had to tell me. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. Concerned flashed across my face. "What's wrong? Is something the matter with Mom?" "No, Mom's fine. Please sit down and let me explain," she replied. After a pause, she spoke again. "Dad, you know how much Mom loves you, and she told me how great things have been between you two lately. Yes, and I love her too. That's why I want to show her how much she means to me." Seeing her tears, I realized her news wasn't what I expected. "I'm really sorry, Daddy, but Mom went out with another man." I sat in stunned silence trying to process her words. Her tears flowed as anger ignited within me. "Chloe, what are you saying?" "Where's your mom?" I demanded, my voice rising in frustration. "Mom loves you very much, Daddy, and I hope you won't take this the wrong way. But Mom went out with another man and won't be back until tomorrow. She couldn't tell you herself, so I volunteered to break it to you because she didn't want to hurt you. It's just one night and she'll be back tomorrow. Is this some kind of joke? I can't believe this. Your mother would never betray me like this. We were so close in loving. This can't be real. Dad, she loves you. She just needed something different in her life, at least once after 30 years of marriage. Nothing's changing between you two, except she might love you even more for understanding." I stared at my daughter. "Chloe, why are you involved in this? Your mom shouldn't have dragged you into it, and I should be talking to her, not you. How did she get you into all this?" "Dad, Mom and I have always been close, and we share everything. She said things had slowed down between you two, and she no longer felt the spark. My friend's dad lost his wife a few years ago, and he also needed someone to connect with. Well, I introduced them," she admitted quietly. I stood up abruptly, knocking over my chair. "Are you serious? You set your mom up on a date with another man. Is that what you're telling me?" Lowering her head, Chloe remained silent. Meanwhile, I paced back and forth in the kitchen, trying to comprehend the situation. "Damn it, Chloe, answer me!" I yelled, towering over her. "Did you arrange this? Is my wife your mother on a date with your friend's dad because of you?" At my angry outburst, Chloe flinched. "I'm really sorry, Dad." "Yes, I did. It sounds bad when you put it like that, but I was trying to help a friend." "Help a friend? What about me? What about our family? How could you do this?" I demanded, my voice rising in anger. "Where is she now? And why did you say she won't be back until tomorrow? They went to a restaurant. I don't know which one. Then they're spending the night together just this once. She'll be back tomorrow. Dad, she loves you. She's been telling me for the past 2 weeks how much she loves you and doesn't want you to be hurt. It's just one night. She thought you'd understand and give her this one chance. So is that it? I thought her newfound affection over the last 2 weeks was genuine, but now you're saying it was just her way of easing her guilt. Well, this isn't going to end well. I assure you." Tears streamed down Chloe's face. "Dad, it's not like that. She never pretended or tried to hurt you. She wanted to show you how much she loves you. Can't you give her one night? You know she loves you and can't imagine life without you. She talked about looking forward to your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. Jake and I plan to have kids, and we need you both. Ironic, isn't it? That dream ended when she agreed to go out with someone else. Who is this guy? He's my friend Anna's dad. He's really nice, and I think you'd like him. Oh, great. So I'm supposed to be friends with the guy who's dating my wife. Maybe we can be drinking buddies, and I can let him borrow your mom on weekends. Is that your plan for me?" Chloe slumped into her chair, realizing the magnitude of her mistake. My words hit her hard, shaking her to her core. After pacing the room, I managed to regain some control. Turning to my daughter, my voice was filled with venom, my pain and anguish clear. "Listen carefully, Chloe. Leave now. I need time to process what you and your mother have done to me. I don't want to see or hear from you. No calls, no messages. Your betrayal is unforgivable. You are dead to me, understand? I'm no longer your father and you're no longer my daughter. Get out of my house and never speak to me again." Chloe wept openly, her head in her hands. "Dad, please don't say that. I love you and I want to stay here tonight. Mom and I plan for me to stay with you. We don't want you to be alone. The disrespect you've shown makes me question if you ever truly respected or loved me as your father. You're just like your mother. I worked tirelessly to provide for you both. And this is the thanks I get. Turns out I'm just a meal ticket, never earning respect from either of you. Amid tears and sobs, she pleaded, Dad, I love you. Please reconsider. Let Mom explain everything tomorrow. You've had 30 wonderful years together, and I know you love her. Give her this one thing and she won't leave you. Daddy, she loves you. She can have whatever she wants, but she'll never have me again. Forgiveness is beyond me. Everyone involved will face consequences, including the man who took my wife. Now go. You've shown your true colors. You still have your mother. Nothing changes for you too. Chloe, you're no longer my daughter. Leave. With tears streaming down her face, she fled the house in agony, experiencing a pain she had never known. She never imagined her father's reaction would be so severe. Had he truly disowned her? For the first time, she realized she might have crossed a line in helping her mom with this plan. She knew he loved them both, but his fury was undeniable, and she prayed for his forgiveness. Right after Chloe left, I dialed Ella's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I left multiple messages pleading for her to call back and come home. When my calls went unanswered, even after a few drinks, I resorted to texting her the same plea, still no response. By 2 a.m., it dawned on me she wasn't coming back or answering my calls. Exhausted from self-pity, I stared blankly at the TV, bombarded with more bleak news. My world had turned into a nightmare instantly. Reflecting on our 30-year marriage, the highs, the lows, the milestones, and the once frequent intimacy now replaced by routine, I felt a deep sense of loss. Though our sex life had become predictable, there were no complaints. Post-coitus, we always embraced, drifting off in each other's arms. Daily we exchanged I love yous and rarely argued. Yet now it seemed those words held little significance. Peering out at the art studio I built for Ella, a sanctuary where she poured her creativity for 2 decades, I realized it held more importance to her than I did. Though proud of her achievements, I felt sidelined, but her happiness mattered most to me. The talk with Chloe hit me like a ton of bricks. Learning she wanted to be with another man blindsided me, no warning at all. Despite years of hard work to support my family, I failed to notice she wasn't happy with our marriage. It stung to know she shared this with Chloe instead of talking to me, fueling my anger and humiliation. Reflecting on my life, home, and future, I remembered the house and property I inherited from my grandfather, solely in my name before our marriage. With no mortgage, it made me think, fueled by alcohol and fury, I plotted ways to hurt Ella like she hurt me. Staring out at her studio, a surge of strength washed over me, perhaps from alcohol or the pain of betrayal. With renewed vigor, I sprang into action. I made countless trips to our bedroom, gathering all of her belongings and relocating them to the studio. Shoes, clothes, jewelry, all piled in the center. I then gathered photo albums, including our wedding pictures, placing them on top of the heap. Remembering items in the attic, I went to retrieve them. I retrieved her wedding dress, baby clothes, and more, adding to the growing pile. It amazed me how much she had accumulated over the years. I took down her pictures from the walls and tossed them onto the heap, sculptures, sketches, all her cherished possessions, now part of the ever-expanding mound. By 5 a.m., I felt tense, but decided to wait until 6 a.m., giving her a chance to return or respond to my calls and messages. If I didn't hear back, I'd go through with my plan. I double-checked the house, making sure everything important to her was in the studio. At 5:30, I grabbed a 20-liter gasoline can from the garage and headed to the studio, preparing for 6 a.m. In the meantime, I went online, canceled our joint credit cards, transferred money to my account, withdrew cash from the safe, and packed a few suitcases, loading them into my truck. I planned to stay away until the lawyer sorted things out, giving her another 5 minutes to return at 605 with my last hope fading. I poured gasoline over the pile and along the studio walls. After a deep breath and brief hesitation, I lit a match, igniting her belongings. The fire spread fast, visible from the street. Before I could escape, her world was engulfed in flames. Driving along the highway, a profound realization hit me, accentuated by my distraught state. Overwhelmed by sorrow, tears streamed down my face. It dawned on me that my once happy marriage had met the same fate as the studio, consumed by flames. Unexpectedly, the fire spread to the back porch, endangering the house. Thankfully, firefighters arrived quickly, saving the house from complete destruction. However, it suffered significant smoke damage and would need extensive repairs before it could be lived in again. Meanwhile, I checked into a motel 90 miles away from the charred remnants of my marriage, paying in cash to avoid detection. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I turned off my phone and collapsed into bed, falling into a deep sleep until noon. Upon waking, I found dozens of missed calls and texts from Chloe, Ella, and the sheriff. Ella's story. After exiting the Uber, I met Ethan at the restaurant, feeling both nervous and excited. The handsome man waiting for me at the reception desk smiled warmly. He took in my little black dress, sheer tights, and matching high heels with appreciation. His eyes lingered on my neckline, and I felt a spark of confidence. Earlier in the day, I had spent hours at the salon making sure my hair and makeup were perfect. I wanted this occasion to be thrilling, unforgettable, and flawless. Seeing his reaction made me feel more assured. I greeted him with a gentle kiss, and we headed to the bar, sitting on bar stools. When I stood up, I noticed his gaze trailing my nylon-covered legs. We exchanged smiles as he ordered our drinks. I decided to switch off my phone to avoid interruptions, aware that this night was a one-time event and determined to savor every moment. There was undeniable chemistry between us. We conversed like old friends, and I found myself touching his arm and flirting in ways I seldom did with anyone, including Liam. I was set on embracing my inner confidence and enjoying the experience. After finishing our second drink, the hostess informed us that our table was ready and escorted us to our seats. The dinner was delightful, and I enjoyed our conversation and time together. When he asked if I still wanted to spend the night with him, I teasingly placed my foot between his legs. His smile widened, and he suggested we leave. Holding hands, he led me to his pre-booked hotel room. As the elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, the reality of what I was about to do hit me, and fleeting thoughts of Liam crossed my mind. Sensing my hesitation, Ethan pulled me close, giving me a tender, reassuring kiss. In that moment, all thoughts of my husband and marriage faded away. Tonight, I was his, ready to embrace and revel in this experience. Once in the room, he wasted no time unzipping my dress. As it fell to the floor, he quickly shed his own clothes. Spinning me around, he admired my appearance and removed my bra before laying me on the bed. The experience was intensely sensual and loving, making me eager for what would come next. Kneeling, I admired his physique, and he swiftly removed my pantyhose, insisting I put my heels back on, finding them alluring. Throughout our intimacy, he showered me with kisses, displaying remarkable skill. Fleeting thoughts of Liam crossed my mind, but I pushed them away, focusing on the man in front of me. Locking eyes, he whispered, "I love you, Ella." His unexpected declaration deeply touched me, evoking a rush of emotions that moved me to tears of joy. We made love several times that night and once more in the morning. Each encounter as passionate as the last. It was the pinnacle of my sexual experiences, and I felt content in having allowed it with Ethan. As thoughts of Liam intruded, I endeavored to focus on Ethan's embrace. Bathed in sunlight filtering through the curtains, he tenderly kissed me and caressed my hair. "Ella, I meant what I said last night. You're incredible, so sensual and sexy. I think I love you. I want to spend more time with you. Can we see each other again?" Apprehension gripped me, and I responded gently. "Ethan, it was amazing, and you're a wonderful man, but I'm married, and I can't repeat this. It was a one-time thing, and I cherished it. You were fantastic. You're a great lover, and I relished every moment. Ella, please consider it before you reject me. Your husband doesn't need to know, and I can make you happy. Just think about it." "I'll think about it, but for now, this is all I can offer," I replied. With another deep kiss, he held me close, and I surrendered to his embrace. If I weren't married to Liam, I'd be with Ethan in a heartbeat. But Liam is my husband, and I hoped he could forgive me for what I had just done. After breakfast, Ethan drove me home. I decided to turn on my phone, which had been off since the previous night. To my shock, it was flooded with missed calls and texts. Among them, Liam's messages hit me the hardest, inducing a sharp sense of guilt. Realizing his suffering brought tears to my eyes. Just as we entered my neighborhood, my phone rang. It was Chloe urgently asking where I was. I reassured her that I was nearly home, only to be informed of a fire at our house. They had been trying to reach me all night, but my phone had been off. My concern shifted to Liam, who, according to Chloe, was missing. No one knew where he was, and he wasn't responding to calls. With a sinking feeling, I promised to call back as soon as I arrived, deeply troubled by the unfolding situation. When Ethan turned the corner onto my street, I saw a fire truck and police in front of our house. I didn't see any damage at the front and quickly approached the firefighters to ask what had happened. "Are you the owner of the house?" one of them asked. "Yes, I'm Ella Harper." "Well, Mrs. Harper, we were able to save the house. Only the back porch was damaged, but I'm afraid you won't be able to stay here until the smoke is cleaned up inside. The majority of the damage was to the small studio behind your home. It's completely destroyed." I felt my legs give out, and Ethan caught me, helping me sit on the curb. "My studio? Is it really gone?" I asked, feeling numb. "Yes, Mrs. Harper, I'm afraid it's all gone. We'll investigate the cause of the fire, but in the meantime, the police detective has a few questions for you." I quickly stood up and ran to the back of the house before Sergeant Taylor could approach me. He caught up as I stood in front of the charred remains of my studio. I immediately suspected that Liam had done this out of anger. "Mrs. Harper, do you know what happened here?" "Ask Sergeant Taylor." "No, I wasn't here last night, and I have no idea what happened," I replied, trying to steady my voice. "Are you her husband?" he asked, turning to Ethan. "No, just a friend," Ethan said, feeling embarrassed. I could sense the sergeant's suspicion. "Where is your husband, Mrs. Harper?" "I don't know. He's not answering his phone," I said, my voice trembling. "And where were you last night?" he inquired. "I was with Ethan at a hotel," I admitted, realizing how damning this sounded. "Are you and your husband separated?" the sergeant continued. "No, we're not separated. We were happily married," I stammered, realizing how foolish I sounded after admitting to spending the night with another man. "Do you know where he might be now?" Sergeant Taylor pressed. "No, I really don't. He's not responding to any calls," I said, feeling increasingly desperate. "We'll need to speak with him. When you reach him, please give him my number," the sergeant said, handing me his business card. I was overwhelmed with a mix of anger and fear, anger at the loss of my studio and all my work, and fear of Liam's reaction and what this meant for our marriage. I needed to find him and talk to him. I called Chloe. "Chloe, do you know where your father is?" "No, Mom, I haven't heard from him since last night. Why didn't you stay with him like we planned?" "He threw me out, Mom." "He said I was no longer his daughter," she replied, her voice breaking. Hearing those words sent a chill through my body. Liam saying something like that was unimaginable. Upon entering the house, I noticed the smoke damage on the walls and the foul odor lingering in the air. Living here was impossible in its current state. As I moved through the house, I decided to gather clothes and personal items for a few days. However, when I entered the bedroom, I was shocked to find everything gone. Panic surged through me as I realized that all my clothes, shoes, and personal belongings were missing. I checked my nightstand for my wedding rings, only to find them absent. Why had I left my rings behind? If Liam saw them, he might think I had abandoned him in our marriage. How foolish and selfish of me. In a state of panic, I frantically searched every room, only to find everything of mine was gone. A dreadful thought crossed my mind. Had Liam truly destroyed everything? Was there nothing left? Rushing out of the house, I returned to the studio to examine the remnants. Among the debris, I spotted picture frames and partially destroyed clothing. It was clear Liam had not just accepted my absence, but had obliterated everything important to me, cutting me out of his life. I called Chloe in tears, recounting what had happened, and expressing my need for a place to stay. Ethan quickly offered me a place to stay, but he was the last person I wanted to see. Politely, I declined, explaining that I needed to be alone and asked him to leave. Hurt by my abruptness, he left, leaving me to regret my actions and the man I had spent the night with. Though I knew I was at fault, I couldn't help but blame him for my selfish betrayal, even though the true blame lay with me. "Chloe, I think I've lost your father," I said, sobbing. "Mom, don't say that. Dad loves you." "Honey, he burned everything. My clothes, paintings, and studio, everything. He left me with nothing, not even a place to live. He's ignoring my calls. I've hurt him the most, and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I should have talked to him instead of going on that date. We could have worked things out, but my selfishness drove him away. If I were him, I wouldn't take me back. What do I do now? I have no home, no clothes. Mom, don't blame yourself. I share some of the blame, too. You can stay with us until your house is repaired. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the full extent of the damage I had caused. We'll get you new clothes this afternoon and make sure you're settled by evening. Chloe, it's not just clothes. All my artworks, paintings, and sculptures are gone. 30 years of marriage and 2 decades of my artistic creations all destroyed. I feel utterly alone. I have nothing left. Ella sobbed openly, drawing glances from the neighbors. Oh God, your father is calling. I'll call you back, she said, fumbling to answer the call. Her hands shook as she nearly dropped the phone, finally managing to connect. Liam, is that you? Hi, Ella. How are you? Liam, where are you? Please come home. We need to talk. No, Ella. I know everything from Chloe. Yes, your daughter, not mine. You both are dead to me, and this might be our final conversation. Liam, please don't say that. I love you. You should know this. Liam, the studio is gone. Did you do this? Ella, it wasn't me. You did this with your deceit and betrayal. When I saw your wedding rings discarded and knew you were with another man in my heart, you died. Your actions are unforgivable, and Chloe's involvement is beyond comprehension. We're finished. I'll meet with lawyers on Monday to start the divorce proceedings. Please, Liam, can't we talk and resolve this? You can't just discard our 30 years together. Ella, we are talking, and I'm not the one who discarded our 30 years. You did with your planned betrayal and deceit. There's no person on this earth who could accept or forgive such treachery. This is our last conversation. You can reach me through my attorney's details, which will come with the divorce papers. Goodbye, Ella. Liam, no, wait, Liam. But he was gone. My world had crumbled. Chloe arrived just as I ended the call with Liam. We embraced each other, crying over our loss. We realized we couldn't stay in the wreckage of my home while the fire and police conducted their investigation, so we headed to Chloe's house. Upon arrival, she briefed Jake on everything, shocking him with the details. Chloe tried to explain it all, but when Jake discovered his wife had arranged to date for her friend's father with her own mother, he was appalled and furious. Chloe, you set up a date for your mom with another man, knowing Dad would be left alone. How could you not realize he'd never accept that? What kind of husband lets his wife go on a date with someone else? Is this what you plan to do, and we're older? Betray me like Mom did to Dad? He was a good man, and you and Mom were his whole world. What have you done, Chloe? You've ruined a good man and pushed him to do unimaginable things. I can't believe you'd be so thoughtless. I need to think about our future. Right now, having kids with you is on hold until I figure out where you stand. His anger shocked her. She was surprised by his lack of understanding of her mother's situation. It was just one date after 30 years of marriage, for heaven's sake. Later, she realized the real issue was the end of her parents' marriage, her father's loss, and her mother's shattered happiness. Soon they'd all face the consequences of her actions. 5 long days later, I returned home to assess the damage. I decided against filing an insurance claim to avoid more potential costs. In my meeting with the lawyer, I made it clear the house was mine and not up for debate. Ella could have half our savings, but no alimony. If she resisted, I'd sue for adultery, exposing her affair with her daughter's friend's father. Divorce papers were already in motion. I also sought advice on criminal arson charges, but learned that without an insurance claim, it likely wouldn't proceed unless I made a false report. A neighbor who knew Chloe called her when she saw me return home. Chloe hurried over. I was checking the damage and figuring out what repairs the house needed when I heard the front door open. "Dad, Dad, where are you?" Chloe's voice echoed through the house. I stayed silent, focused on assessing the damage. Looking out the window at the pile of ashes that was once Ella's studio, I couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. Chloe found me in one of the bedrooms and rushed over, wrapping me in a hug. "Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you." "Chloe, I can't forgive either of you. I already said not to talk to me again. Please let me go and leave me alone. You say you're my daughter and that I must forgive you. Listen, you're no longer my daughter, just a deceitful person who broke my heart. Now leave me alone." "Dad, Mom needs you. She's living with us and misses you terribly. She cries all the time and wants to apologize for her mistake. Can you come to our house and see her?" "Never. When she went on that date and stayed with another man, our marriage ended. She even left her wedding rings behind, sealing the end of our marriage. It's done, and I won't speak to her again." Both of you can reach me through my lawyer. I'll get a new phone and number today, but for now, you should go and be with your cheating mother. Are you really willing to throw away 30 years of happiness with Mom? No, not me. Your mother threw away those 30 years as soon as she took off her rings and went to her lover. It was you and your mother who destroyed my 30 years of happiness, and for that, I'll never forgive or forget. Now get out of my house. For the second time, Chloe ran out of her childhood home in tears. Her dad's words declaring she was no longer his daughter were devastating. Even years of therapy couldn't erase the pain of his words. The following day, Ella received the divorce papers and realized her affair had ended her marriage. She tried to reason with Liam, went to counseling, and attempted to speak with him, but all efforts were in vain. He had cut off contact with her and Chloe. Jake eventually reached out to Liam, expressing his anger and disappointment over their actions. Jake reconsidered having children due to Chloe's betrayal, and they entered couples counseling to save their marriage. Ella had hoped to return home after Liam rebuilt it, but the divorce made it clear that the house was his. She received half their savings and $3,000 monthly in alimony for 10 years, though Liam initially refused to pay. Now she had to find work after 30 years of relying on Liam. She moved from her daughter's place to a small apartment near the city center and started working at an art gallery to get by. Ella's artistic freedom was suddenly at risk. No longer could she spend hours in Liam's beautiful studio or enjoy the lake view from the big windows he had gifted her. Work now consumed her, leaving little time to reclaim her old life. All her free time vanished, along with the luxury and marital bliss, all for one reckless night with another man. She would never have enough tears to erase the hurt caused by that one mistake. Liam, her loving husband, would never speak to her again. Hearing that he had disowned their daughter shattered Chloe's heart, and she sank into depression over her parents' split. To save her own marriage, now falling apart, she sought help from a therapist. Months later, the house was repaired. Liam kept up with court-ordered payments and then sold the house. After the sale, Ella tried to reconcile, only to find a young couple at the door. "Hello, can we help you?" the woman asked. "I'm looking for Liam Harper. Is he here?" "No, he sold us this house and moved on. He was very kind." "Are you Ella?" "Yes, that's me. Did he leave anything for me?" "He did. He left an envelope for you," the woman said, handing it over. "Thank you." "Enjoy your new home," Ella said, tears streaming as she realized she would never see Liam again. Back in her lonely apartment, she opened the letter with trembling hands. "Letter, Ella, 30 years, and I once believed I couldn't be the husband you needed. Clearly what you needed was a circus, not a partner. Your antics have shown me that. You wanted more. Congratulations on finding it outside our marriage. Those 2 weeks you pretended to be the loving wife again? Should have known it was just the calm before the storm, a prelude to your grand betrayal. I was planning a special night for us while you were out with someone else. You didn't just break us, Ella. You obliterated us. I've done us both a favor and disappeared. Don't try to find me. I'm starting over in a place where your face and our daughters don't exist. Consider our home another casualty of your selfishness. I sold it, and maybe the new owners can rid it of the stench of betrayal. You want closure? Consider this letter it. Here's to your new beginnings. May they be as fleeting as your loyalty. Farewell, from the man who once loved you. She thought she had no tears left, but after reading his note, she cried all night, hugging her knees tightly. The thrill and memories of the wonderful times with Ethan faded, overtaken by regret and sorrow. At 52 and alone, she realized her days ahead without Liam looked bleak. She had traded her life of comfort and love for a moment of reckless pleasure. Liam confronted Ethan late one night just before he was about to leave for Ecuador. When the door opened, Liam stormed in, revealing he was the husband of the woman Ethan had been with. Ethan tried to justify his actions, claiming he believed Ella was okay with it and wouldn't have pursued her otherwise. Liam wasn't interested in his excuses. Months of pent-up anger and pain exploded. The encounter was brief. Liam used a crowbar, and within seconds, Ethan's life was drastically changed. Before leaving for the airport, Liam left Ethan with a warning about the dangers of getting involved with a married woman. By the time Ethan got to the emergency room and reported the assault, Liam was already settling into his beachfront apartment in Manabi, Ecuador. Detectives learned 2 weeks later that Liam had left the country and realized they couldn't pursue him unless he returned. Even if they located him, Ecuador doesn't extradite for assault charges. Ethan endured a painful recovery with weeks in the hospital and months of physical therapy. The 25 stitches across his face would always remind him of that night. Unsure of his future, he knew his old life was over because of the 2 women who persuaded him to steal another man's wife. He never contacted Ella or Chloe again. Jake nearly left Chloe because of what happened, but a psychologist helped her see the error of her ways. She vowed to stay true to Jake and their future family. Jake waited 2 years before deciding to have children, needing to be sure his wife wouldn't deceive him as she had deceived her father. Keeping his promise and her guilt in mind, Liam cut off all ties with Chloe. By her actions, she permanently lost her father's affection. When Ella and Chloe found out about Ethan's assault, they were heartbroken and felt guilty for their role in the violence. Adding to the remorse and suffering they had already caused Liam and the breakup of their family. It was another sign that their choices had consequences they hadn't imagined. They realized their foolish hope that allowing Ella that one indiscretion would keep their life happy was completely misguided. Their error showed that happiness was far from reality. The absence of their father and husband brought enduring sorrow, a burden they carry forever. Overwhelmed by sadness and aging, Ella never met another partner and led a life filled with loneliness and regret. Her dreams of growing old with Liam and enjoying time with their grandchildren faded into mere memories. With Liam stopping support payments after leaving the country, her financial stability was shaky, forcing her to work to make ends meet. Nightly tears became her new norm. As for me, I now possess over $750,000 from selling my house and my savings over the last 3 decades. After buying my new place, I look forward to a comfortable and peaceful life here in Ecuador. The local young women appreciate a generous American, and I relish their company. Half a year following that dreadful night, sitting on the beach across from my new home in Port Alapez with a chilled beer, I realized that divorce is part of life. It's fine to part ways. It's fine to be on your own. What's not fine is staying where you're not respected or cherished. I'll make sure I don't find myself in that situation again.